thank you for your testimony that those statistics are staggering. First, start off with my colleague, Ms. Watson-Coleman. You have any questions?
Thank you. I do. Thank you. This is for, I think this is for Mr. I don't dare try to say your name.
Yeah. There you go.
I guess this is kind of for all. First of all, this is a water remediation issue. Is that, am I talking to the right person?
Right. We're trying to mitigate some of the arsenic issues in our water at this time.
Where is the funding coming from for the work that you are currently doing and have been doing?
We've received some funding as late as last year from the IHS. So they are providing $14 million towards this with direct input from the Hopi tribe of $1 million to look at trying to draw in some power to power the pumps to push the water out to the affected villages.
So the proposal for remediating this issue right now, did I get it right, is to get the proper water, drinking water, to the residents, but not to sort of facilities like schools and things like that?
Right. It'll draw the line out to the villages that are mainly affected with this.
And that is if you get the $20 million?
Correct.
So what would it cost to be able to bring drinkable water into those facilities?
And that's what we're looking for. Additional funding from the appropriations would help pull in some of this water. Currently, the schools operate on their own, so it's high cost to the schools. And whenever there's malfunction with the water system, they actually have igloos of water set up in the schools. So if they have issues like that, the children, of course, and staff and everybody engaged with the school has a resource for clean water. If I could add to that also, most of our community drink tap water, which is laced with arsenic. Those that are able to buy their own water, which gets costly, and water shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a necessary resource for everybody.
We agree. And to the rest of you, my understanding is that the issue of public safety on the reservations is a very important issue, from structure to the number of people that you can hire to work in that capacity, from lawyers to judges to police officers. And this seems to be something that you all shared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when you're asking for this $74 million, Mr. Nez, President Nez, are you talking about what the Indian nations need in order to upgrade its public safety system? Or are you talking just about what the Navajo tribe in needs?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question, Representative Coleman, Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee. Excuse me. $74 million is just for the Navajo Nation to be close to the level of providing those public safety services for our Navajo people. And that's just the bare minimum. You know, throughout Indian country, we're talking about into the hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even the billions of dollars. And now, as I was saying earlier, public safety, the public safety system as a whole needs to be looked at in that way. And that includes the judges, the courts, prosecutors, and even behavioral and mental health.
Just one follow-up. Could you tell me the population of the Navajo?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, we have close to 200,000 at times living on our nation. We estimated last census 350,000 to 500,000 Navajos all over the world. We're all over the world, you know, and some of these tribes have some of our members working for them. So maybe I'll throw a pitch in today. Are you guys ready to come home and help the Navajo Nation? But we have a big nation. 27,000 square miles, as I said earlier, the size of the state of West Virginia, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Ms. Pingree, you have any questions?
I'm set, but thank you so much for your testimony. I really do appreciate that you're here with us.
Madam Chair?
So, complications of arsenic poisoning. Cancer, liver disease, diabetes, nervous system complications, loss of sensation in the limbs and hearing problems, and digestive difficulties. And you have people who are drinking water that they know is laced with asbestos. So were all the pipes that had the asbestos in it, were all the pipes put in by the federal government?
To my knowledge, they were.
To your knowledge.
Yes,
and the federal government knows that, in my opinion, it's knowingly, morally wrong to have people drinking poison. It's going to contribute to the cost of what the federal government has as its trust and treaty responsibility to provide health care. Mm-hmm. And the pipes were put in what year again?
We're looking at as early as the 1960s.
1960s,
Yeah, so
and they've failed to replace them.
They haven't had any work done on this, ma'am.
Interesting. Do you know if those pipes, as with lead pipes, they can extrude some plastic or something to put in the pipe to kind of block the asbestos from coming out? Have they talked about? Yeah, I don't know if that's possible. I'm not an engineer. I'm not trying to play, a stump or a gotcha question. But have they ever talked about other things, or is it full replacement?
I thank you for your question, and I was just going to respond with that. I'm not an engineer either, and since I've been in the office, I haven't heard anything of any kind of mitigation concerning lining it with any other material to try to mitigate some of the arsenic. There's been talks about filtration systems. However, the cost on that is pretty enormous, and having to change out the actual filters themselves will, continue the cost. So in order to fully mitigate this, we're looking at just hashing all the piping that needs to be taken care of. And we're talking about a pretty big project, and there's everything in place. Again, the wells have already been drilled. It's just a matter of getting the infrastructure into places. So I would welcome you to come out to Hopi and visit where we're at, because we're challenged geographically. We live on high mesas, so it's not
I've been out there, but this is the first time, and I've been out there. This is the first time I've heard this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad.
And that's why that to our point is why we are doing the testimony the way that we are in blocks, so that we can really delve into things. And we have your full written testimony and all the other things you care about. But this has given this committee an opportunity to hear something. So I thank you, and believe me, I don't think you just have my attention. I think you have everybody's attention.
And I think the subcommittee.
So thank you.
Well. Yes.
Mr. O'Halloran has been talking about what he saw in Arizona. So he came up as, do you know what's going on? So
and now we've seen the picture.
And
so
we now because he's in the picture,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I know he was really there. You said in your written testimony that the BIA has on its own just kind of stopped moving forward with doing any remediation, stop facilities, replacement, the DOJ, stop facility funding on replacements of tribal justice buildings, and they're very aware of the backlog. Is that a Department of Justice issue as well as a BIA issue? Because we can do some things in our account, but they also have responsibility in their account, and we have the ability to speak to each other about these issues. So how much of this, and you can get back to us, is in DOJ?
I think the last time it came from BIA for public safety facility construction was back in 2009 under the ARA funding. But other than that, it's been DOJ, but it bounces back and forth, and when we have meetings, they blame each other.
Oh, wonderful.
So I think it's on the federal government's responsibility to make sure that tribes do get these fundings, and that I think everybody knows that the tribes are the most administratively burdened organization on this world. And so when we get bounced around like that, it makes it even harder to fill the needs of our people.
Okay. Well, we're gonna look into shared responsibility because our allocation hasn't been going up. I've been out to the Navajo Reservation. You folks do a magnificent job training, and we need to make sure that you have all the tools that you need to keep the recruitment. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. That means not only personnel, the other supportive things that you need, a crime lab and the rest, but also that you have you have our support on trying to solve this. So thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair.
You may.
Thank you. And, we appreciate you all coming out to the Navajo Nation. I know many of the House committee members, I think 2 Congresses ago, came out to the Navajo Nation, experienced our bumpy roads, school buses that travel through those communities and those rough conditions. And we're under a state of emergency right now on the Navajo Nation. And our police officers, our first responders are doing the best that they can. And we're this is another reason why we're wanting to advocate for our public safety personnel, and getting them the resources needed. They go above and beyond. They've been 24/7 helping grandmas and our elderlies that are out in the rural area that have 3 feet of snow. We had high records of snow in the Arizona a couple weeks ago. And they're doing their very best that they can to reach out to those high-risk individuals or elderly and those that can't help themselves. And we're also asking our folks to volunteer to get out and help each other as well. And that's what we're trying to reteach many of our members. So I appreciate Chairperson McCollum and the subcommittee for the hearing today. And it takes it'll provide us an opportunity to give you some real life situations that we deal with on a daily basis. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. I'm not an engineer either, and I don't pretend to play one, but I know one thing they did do, and it depends on the size of your water lines. In city of Cleveland, they would go through with like an auger and then would back spray it with concrete. The line to try to, one, because they had a buildup of whatever it is that's in the lines, but 2, I don't know if there's a way to do it. I don't think you can necessarily stick a plastic one inside of it, but certainly something we can look into. But mine, for 25 years before I got here, I was in law enforcement, so I got to tell you that when I was talking to the chief here, that when I wanted to know what was going on, if I wanted to know about the budget or the politics of an office, you'd see the chief. But if you want to know what's going on in the field, you go talk to the officers. But it looks like you do both, and there's certainly an intimidating figure there. But part of the discussion and testimony last year from you, Chairman Rambler, was the fact that. You had mentioned that in 2018 we appropriated $18 million of focus on detention centers. We continued that in 19 for the same level, but without the focus being on detention centers. In response to your testimony last year, we put in that we need to replace your police station. Have you talked to BIA leadership about the change in congressional intent for 2019? And if so, what did they tell you?
I think right now they're prioritizing the detention facilities. And we want more priority on the police and the court facilities, and to also include the additional money that we're asking for not only for us, but our sisters and brothers across the United States.
Mm-hmm. Is there, were they to be separate and distinct facilities, or can the police department be located inside of a detention center?
It can be all-inclusive.
But there's been no funding or no work done on either the detention center or the police station.
Well, we have a detention facility that's at one point in time used to be adequate, but now because of the demand, it needs to be enlarged. But we did get a CTAS grant to design a facility, so we've designed a facility. We just don't have the construction money to build that facility.
I got it. And President Naz, you brought up the differential between you're doing all this training and you're losing the people that you train, having
Yes, sir.
worked in the public sector with prosecutors. I know just about the time they were worthwhile as a law firm came and grabbed them. What's the differential between what your ability to pay and what's being paid out in the community?
We're right now with the appropriations that are appropriated each year. It's at a low rate than other police departments surrounding our nation. And we've been utilizing some of those additional funds to help supplement that. But once that additional funding runs out, we're going to be pretty much forced into using the general funds. And for the Navajo Nation, and I'm going to say as well as the Hopi Nation here, the uncertainty of some of our coal-fired power plants in the region. The Navajo Generating Station is one. If that were to shut down, that would affect the coal mine that we get revenue from, the Peabody coal mine. And if those two closures happen, Navajo is looking at about $30 to $15 million decrease of our general fund dollars. And so it's going to be hard to find additional dollars to help supplement that higher pay raise for our public safety personnel. And that's just not police officers. It's also correctional officers as well, prosecutors. And so that is the reason why we're all here today, is to see, and then we also brought out the point of this treaty obligation as well, and one of those is public safety and also education. But I think if we are to step back and look at the bigger picture in tribes, how can the federal government help nations to help themselves is the bigger goal. I think a different plan of diversifying our economy would help Indian nations throughout the country. And for us, I think tourism and maybe even renewable energy to bring some of those dollars that we may lose in the future. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for your testimony and your traveling here today to be before us, and look forward to working with you on your matters going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nez, the gentleman over here handles EPA, and I'd like to update on the Gold King mine. If the two of you, if you could talk to him off to the side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, thanks again. Still joining us for lunch, President?
Yes, sir. All right. Good job.
We're ready for our next panel. Thank you all. Yeah, I get it. They all seem to know who they are. You're in the panel after this one. So it's Julian Bearrunner, Rodney Bordeaux, Ella Robertson, and Mulan. What do I say your first name? Mullion? Just get the one from Maine right, anyway. Mullion. Supposed to go in order?
Yes.
Okay. Great.